So, if you own a Pioneer DJ-FLX10 controller, or if you're thinking of getting one, or if you're just interested in some of the features of this unit, watch on, because in this short and sweet live show from the studios of Digital DJ Tips, we're going to give you our 7 top hacks, 7 answers to the questions we get asked the most, and 7 things we think that might interest you about this unit. The reason we're doing this now is that we're in the middle of recording a full 2-hour free training tutorial on the Pioneer DJ-FLX10, which is going to be out soon, but of course we're really deep in this at the moment, so I've got lots of things I can share with you, and I'm going to share 7 of the biggest ones with you right now. As always, this is a live show, so we're going to run our opening sequence and then we'll get straight to those 7 things with just a little bit of time at the end to talk to you if you've got any questions about this unit. See you in 30. It's a really interesting DJ controller. It's a follow-on to the Pioneer DJ DDJ-1000, of course, which was an extremely popular unit. And this one adds in other features like stems or track separation and other cool stuff. I'm not going to talk about any of that now, though. I'm just going to talk about these little things that we keep getting asked, and that I think are nice to share with you about how this works and what's different about this to other controllers. You know, ultimately, DJ controllers are glorified keyboards, right, with an audio interface built in. The power's all in the software. So, you know, if you don't understand your software, then you're not going to get very far with a DJ controller. But there are things that are different about each individual controller, and this one especially has got a lot of quite cool stuff going on with it. So here it is then. So let's talk about the first thing which people always are interested to know more about, which is these on-screen displays, these rather on jog displays, because these are pretty cool, right? You get a lot of information shown to you on these. You get your waveform and your cues and your BPMs and your key and your artwork and all this kind of stuff. So we cover this in full detail in the tutorial. As I say, there's a free tutorial on this unit coming up on Digital DJ Tips as of next week. So 2nd week in December, 3rd week in December 2023. If you're watching this after then, you can go and watch that. But the biggest one, and the biggest one that people are like, oh wow, I didn't realize that, is that you can actually change what you can see on these displays. So this is quite a cool display. It's got kind of a bit of everything. However, if you wanted to put on here basically the equivalent to what you can see here, right? You've got your parallel waveforms at the top of the screen. And these parallel waveforms are useful, right? Because let's just get that looking a bit better. There we go. These parallel waveforms allow you to beat mix and all kinds of other cool stuff. But you can also get them on this display here. And the way to get your parallel waveforms on this display here is just to hold down the shift button and then tap these buttons here, these buttons with page written on them. And that will switch the in-jog display to this pretty cool one here. And you can see now, this is what's loaded on deck number 1, but this is what's loaded on deck number 2. So these are now corresponding with what you can see at the top of the screen there. And here you can see I've stopped this deck, but the other one's still playing in the background, right? Parallel waveforms right there on your jog display. Pretty cool. Right, so our second hidden feature on the Pioneer DJ DDJ-FLX10 is a way of quick searching through your tracks. So people sometimes say, oh, I used to have this controller or that controller, and it had a touch strip at the top where I could quickly search. I could hold down shift and go like this and quickly search through the track, and I can't find it on here. And the nearest people find is there's these beat jump controls down here. You can hold down shift and press beat jump, and you can see it's jumping through the track. You can see on both the waveforms at the top, but that's pretty slow. That's quite good if you're playing, because people can't really tell that you're doing it, right? But if you want to quickly get somewhere near the end of the track and you don't want to just go and grab your mouse and move and click, there's an easy way of doing that. And the way you do that is like this. You hold down any of these beat jump buttons, doesn't matter which one, just hold one of them down, and then you just turn the jog wheel like this. And look at what's happening on the screen. You can't hear it This is just literally a quick way of getting to the point in the song where you want to be before you carry on doing your thing with it. So hold down a beat jump button, turn the jog wheel, and you can very, very quickly scrub. Scrub is a word sometimes used for that through the track. No need for touch strips, and no need to go and use the mouse to jump to another place further on in the track. We don't want to be using the mouse when we're DJing, do we? Right, so we've covered a cool parallel waveform screen mode, a quick way to search. Now, if you are using your performance pads, right? So on this particular track here, I've got no hot cues set. Let's get the screen back up as well. I've got no hot cues set on here, but let's just set a few hot cues through the track here, right? I've now set 8 hot cues. If you are using your hot cues, for instance, or you're using the sampler, or you're using the pad effects, and you want to know what these are without looking at your screen, because your screen will tell you, right? Your screen's got, if you look at the screen here where my mouse is moving around at the moment, you can see all your hot cues there. But if you don't want to look at that, if that happens to be set to another view or whatever, and you don't want to be gazing at that, again, there's an easy way of getting them to show here. And the way you do that is by holding down the same buttons here that we were holding down before. So hold down one of these and look what happens on the screen. Got hot cues. Every single hot cue is showing where it is and where it's set. And so this works with the other pad modes as well. So if I press the pad effects there, so I've now got the pad effects down here. I haven't got a clue what those pad effects are set to, but if I hold down this and look at the screen, I can see they're set to roll, sweep, flange, and the break, echo, a couple of echoes, reverb, and the release echo as well there. So this is a really useful way of seeing what's going on your pads without having to look up at the screen of the computer. And there's some pad modes that won't show on the screen of the computer as well. So for instance, the sampler won't show the sample slots on there, but it will show them on the screen. Another cool feature. So the next one is one that always amazes people because they just don't know you can do it. It's fader start. So fader start is when you push a fader up and the track starts automatically when you go like that. It's as simple as holding down the shift button. So let me tell you what's happening here because there's a little bit more to it. So basically you can set a cue any way you want on the track. So let's say I wanted to start the track from there. I can set my temporary cue there. Now, when I hold down, so I've now turned the track off, when I hold down shift and go like that, it's starting it from that temporary cue. And you notice it's jumping back to it when I turn it off again. So it's a bit like going like, you know, my temporary cue set there. So let's just set another cue there. It's a bit like going like that or going like that, but it's on here. So you've got it there as well. Now this also works with the crossfader, which is probably a better way of doing it because the crossfader you can set to have a very tight sound. So this is kind of fading in, but this can be very tight. So all I'm doing is holding down the shift button. And then as soon as I want to let go of it, I just let it play, take my hand off the shift. It's alternative to just, as I say, just doing it here. It's nice to know you got it. Not all controllers have it, so you might as well use it. DJing is about what it looks like some of the time, isn't it? A new way of starting your track from the currently set temporary cue point. Not the currently set hot cue point, but the currently set temporary cue point. Okay, so if you've got any questions about this unit, I will have literally a few minutes. I've got to go and take my boy to his football session soon, so I've got to be quick today, so I'll try and keep this quick. But we are live, so if you have got any questions about it, do ask them in the chat. I will definitely prioritise the Flex 10 questions, okay? But let's move on now, because we've got 7 things to get through here. Number 5 is totally different, something utterly different, but people do ask it sometimes, and it's sometimes the simple things that you don't know. So if you didn't know this, if you're someone who's not figured this out, round the back of the unit, where it plugs in, it's got one of these horrible little 12 volt DC, really quite weak plugs, hasn't got a nice big beefy IEC lead. It's got this though, and this is really useful. So this is so that you can do what I just did there. You can put the cable in there, clip it in like that, and now if it gets tugged on by mistake, someone pulls there, it's not going to rip it out, it's not going to break the pin. I've got a DDJ-1000 where the pin is broken in there because exactly that happened, because we didn't have it clipped into the cable. This is a really nice thing to do every time you set up, especially in public where things do get moved, things do fall off tables, people do pull plugs by mistake. It means that any tension ends here and doesn't make it through to the very weak 12 volt input there for the unit. So the cable grips are really worth doing. So let's now move on to something else that's totally different. And I'm going to go to a different screen on here now to do that for you. So we're going to go and look at a utility. In fact, we're going to look at two utilities that come with the unit. So I'm going to go and search for FLX10 on my Mac. You get similar utilities, although not exactly the same, on a Windows computer. And the first one I want to show you is this. Now, if you are using Rekordbox, let's set this to Rekordbox. This is the Pioneer DJ-FLX10 setting utility. It says when using Rekordbox, configure the settings from Rekordbox preferences. And what that's telling you is you can go into the settings in the software and you can go to the controller here and you have lots of settings directly for the FLX10, where you can change all kinds of things on the way the FLX10 itself works with Rekordbox. But in Serato, remember this is a Serato controller as well, you don't get that. And so because of that, they have this little utility here. And so you can select Serato here, and now you can select whether it flashes when slip mode is on, so you know it's on in case you forget. You can have whether the slip button LED is on or blinking when the slip mode's on again. The fader start I was just showing you, so you can do this on or off here, and you can also turn on sync on each deck when you do that if you want to have it syncing. You can change the jog ring color here. You can change whether the time mode is elapsed or remaining, and you've got a display hot queue indicator on the virtual deck as well if you want the hot queue indicator to show or not. It's currently set to on. By the way, the hot queue indicator on the virtual deck, what it's talking about there is, and let's get back to the software here, so we've got the full view that we want. What it's talking about there is, so here on the Jogwheel, you can have indicators showing various things. So if I go close into it there, you see that's this indicator here? You can have that showing or not, and this is a way of setting that. By the way, if you double tap on the shift button, you turn those on and off entirely, right? So I'm double tapping on shift now. I'm turning those digital markers on and off here. Some people like them for scratching and so on. For other people, they get in the way of the display. Your choice. So an extra little bonus tip there. So yeah, you can set Serato settings if you're using Serato very easily on the software by doing that. Right, so the final one I want to share with you is the way to do this. Right, I'm going to show you this first. I'm going to have a little drum roll while I get it going, and then I will show it to you. How cool is this? The Digital DJ Tips logo showing on not on this one because I haven't set it to it. And by the way, all you do is press Shift and Pad Info to move around through these pad modes. You've got the artwork there as well. But I've got the Digital DJ Tips logo set there. It's really nice to be able to put your DJ logo, whatever, on your deck. Some people don't use those at all and would just rather have a logo showing, or you can set it to your logo when you're not DJing or whatever, so it just looks cool. It's easy to do this, but you will not find it in the software anywhere. You will not find how to do this if you're looking at the software. You will be looking forever because it's done on a utility again. So let me show you how you do that. We'll get back to the desktop on this computer and I'll dial it up. So again, you're going to go to your search bar, whatever, and go to the FLX10 image transfer tool, and then you just go and find your logo, drop it on here and click transfer, and that's it, it's done. And you can delete it as well. Obviously your computer needs to be plugged in to the laptop, your laptop and your controller needs to be plugged together when you do that, but it's really easy. It's even easier than updating the firmware, which looks difficult, but updating firmware isn't hard on this stuff. Okay, so there you go, 7 with 1 bonus tip from Digital DJ Tips on using the FLX10. If you're watching the recording of this, we're done, but do hang around if you want, because we're going to chat to the audience for a few minutes about this in just 2 seconds time. And as I said, the reason that we're doing this here is that we've got a training tutorial coming up on this unit, on the way the software interacts with the hardware, right? So the way we always talk about these training tutorials are, it's not teaching you how to DJ with this in the same way that if I talk to you through a brand new, expensive, complicated car like a Tesla or something, I wouldn't be teaching you to drive, but I would be teaching you how the Tesla works, right? So we do these training tutorials, they're free, they're on YouTube for all the big controllers. We've got one for the FLX10, we've got one for the Pro DJ gear like the Pioneer setup here, we've got one for the Prime 4 Plus and that kind of thing, we've got one for the Opus Quad. Anything that's a little bit complicated, right, we've got training tutorials for that'll teach you everything about how your unit works. So it won't teach you about everything in the software. The software is much bigger than any individual unit, and it definitely won't teach you how to DJ, but look, across 2 hours, trust me, we can teach you quite a lot about how to use complex modern DJ gear. Look out for that training tutorial. It's coming very soon. We're pretty near finished now, and then it goes to production. So I reckon it'll be out next week sometime. But now let's talk about this unit with you. Let's see what you've got to say about it, and let's share a little bit of community love. So hello everyone, welcome. Like I say, I've got to be quite quick today. Got family stuff to deal with, but I certainly do have time for a few questions. So here we go. Hello to all our regulars, Don and Kesha, and to Craig, and to Sarah in Barnsley. Hello Sarah. Hello to Benny, nice to see you over there in Tampa, Florida. Hello to the Ruckus and Stevie. Right, so I hope a secret feature is a mapping for Algorithms DJ. Yeah, Algorithms DJ is looking really cool at the moment, isn't it? I agree. That is from Stevie. Benny says, I love my Flex 10. Lou says, good morning, everyone. I've never owned one, says Richard, but what a machine. It's better this way. You can stare at your jogs instead of your laptop, says you don't like my music. I love it. A little glance down, I'd say, would be the way forward. Right, so people are asking, are these features on other controllers? Without checking, I can't tell you. A lot of them will be, I'm sure, like the RX3 and the 1000, but you have to test that. So do you prefer the Rev 5 or the Flex 10, says DJ Kaiju? It depends really. I think I prefer the Flex 10 because I'm not a scratch DJ, and I think the Rev 5 is a little bit more towards scratch DJing and turntablism, whereas this is a little bit more universal, but they're both absolutely fantastic controllers. You're not going to go wrong with either of them. So right, Flex 10, anything you'd like to share, your tips or whatever. So Mixmaster G says, yeah, using colored cues rather than just sticking to the ones they give you, which you can change in the software, is good, because then you can use different kinds of hot cues for different things, like red for the drop, yellow for the vocals, etc. Indeed, we have a hot cue system that we teach inside some of our training that is exactly around that. So totally, I agree with you there, Mixmaster G. I think that's great. Zeki says, I love my Flex 10. Thank you for going over these helpful nuggets. DJ BLV, can you show us how the Flex 10 works with Virtual DJ? I'd love to, but we just don't have time to do that. DJ BLV, I will tell you, it works brilliantly with Virtual DJ. Virtual DJ are excellent at mapping this stuff. Stevie says, Phil, nice to see you back online. Were you running late? Yes, I was. It was getting it all set up. There's a weird thing that I discovered that I think when you launch the setting utility, you know, I just showed you the setting utility. When you launch the setting utility, it seems to knock out the audio on the Flex 10. And I couldn't figure out why that was happening, but you know, a quick reboot or a quick unplug fixed it. But yeah, I couldn't figure out why the audio kept going off just before we came on air. Like I couldn't get the audio out to play to you. And it seemed to be every time I opened that utility. So this time, that's why you saw me actually opening it while we were live, because I kind of figured that was causing it. I'm not sure if I'm right there, but I could be. The Ruckus says, will this be a tutorial or a course? It will be free. It will be free on YouTube, which is cool. You don't have to buy it. The big one I'm telling you about, the 2-hour one. Right, so more questions. Any more questions about this unit? That's what we're going to be sticking with. So James says, should we be upgrading to the latest firmware? So yes, you should. A few people saying it's unstable, this and that. You know, upgrade to the latest firmware at all times, because it'll cause fewer problems if you do than if you leave it, in my experience. And if there is an issue that's bad with firmware in any of this stuff, they will fix it quite quickly. And it's very rare when that happens. Right, so Damon says, this is my first DJ gear. I love it, but how do you do the samples? The samples are actually quite easy, and it's going to be in the full training tutorial. I mean, you turn them on sampler there. The thing that sometimes trips people up is that you don't see it on the screen, because the sampler has a separate way of opening on the screen. In fact, let's just do it. I'm going to, oh look, there's us. There's us. Let's go back to the software. So at the very top of the software, there's this little button here. So if you press the sampler button here, right, nothing will change on the screen. You see the screen here is still set to hot cues, whereas everything else it changes, right? Hot cues, there's my effects, there's my beat jump controls, and you press sampler and nothing changes. It sticks with the one you were on before. And you might think there's something wrong there, but there's not. You just have to click the little sample thing at the top here, and then the sampler appears down here, and then you're controlling the sample slot. So you see I've got something in this sample slot here. I've got a really cheesy sample actually in this sample slot here where my mouse is. So now you can't see the sample slots anymore because I've gone back to this view, but it's now showing on here. You see I've got this. Make some noise. Make some noise. And you trigger it like that. Shift and pressing it will stop it, or just keep pressing it to stutter it. I mean, that's basically how the sampler works. There's more to it than that, but that's enough to get you going. And you drag samples onto those slots that I showed you on the screen using any from anywhere. Just drag them onto the slots. Go find your samples. You can download some samples. Here's another tip actually. If you go to File and Sample Pack and download Sample Pack, and then go to File, Sample Pack, Import Sample Pack, and go to where you downloaded it, probably your downloads folder, you'll get a load of samples, which will all be down here in Rekordbox, including that horrible cheesy one I just played to you there. But hey, it's better than nothing. So go take a look. There's a whole load of samples there in Rekordbox. Guys, girls, as I said earlier, I do have to go now. Thank you very much for asking questions. Thanks for being here. I'm here for longer on Thursday this week, where we'll have a whole hour together. I will answer any questions you've got about anything you're stuck on in your DJing, and we'll have a lead topic as well, something that people have been talking about a lot this week on our socials or whatever. So a kind of double bill. We'll have a big tip for you at the top of the show, and then I'll just be here to answer all your questions. So that's Thursday, 3 p.m. London, 10 a.m. Eastern. And again, sorry I was a bit late today, but these things do happen. It's been a pleasure. Always is. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Now get good, get out there, make the moments. Look out for our Flex 10 tutorial. It's going to be a belter. It's already nearly 2 hours long and I haven't finished recording it yet. It's going to be free on YouTube, and we'll be launching it either at the very end of this week or early next week. So if you own one or you're thinking of buying one and you want to know about all the features of this unit with both Rekordbox and with Serato, tune in to our YouTube channel, and that will be going live very soon. Goodbye for now, everyone.